Football with friends is fun as hell. My name is Alex Dunlap here with Cody Carpentier on a big Tuesday. So pumped to be here with you guys on Orange Bloods Live as we are every evening, 6 to 7 p.m. And Cody, we both have columns up today on Orange Blood, so a bunch of good fodder to talk about. We also have some topics from a maniacal Monday that we weren't able to get to. But as we are on the eve of, or I guess on the week heading into the combine, we do have news in recruiting, and it turns out from your column today that you're saying there's a chance with John Turntine. You're saying that there's a chance. It's looking like a Texas versus Aggies battle here.
That's what it looks like. So I was over on I went over to Aggies. I got an update from them, an update from Oklahoma, and then there's some stuff from just straight up rivals from Gordy and Spiegelman. But the A&M front, basically, about I think it was 2 weeks ago in the Behind the Enemy Lines thing, it was pretty clear where A&M's focus has been on Jackson Cantwell, the big tackle out of Missouri, and then Emmanuel Iheanacho, the big tackle out of Georgetown Prep up in Maryland, the two literal number one and number two tackles in the class. And since then, Jackson Cantwell just released his top three, which did not feature Texas A&M. And the move has been kind of away from that, as well as Iheanacho. The kind of thought around him is more so either stay in the Northeast and go to like a Maryland or a Penn State. Maryland's his home school, obviously, so he's giving them an official. Penn State, and then if he goes away from home, Oregon's kind of the leader in the clubhouse right now. So A&M's kind of found themselves in a spot where they don't really get what they want, and so they're pivoting or making an adjustment to go after two in-state kids. And the quote that I got was basically, there's two in-state kids, John Turntine and Zayden Krempin. Both could end up being A&M and Texas battles. Obviously, we've talked about Turntine and Krempin the last months about Texas having, good pull with both of these guys. Obviously, Krempin just competed this past weekend at the Under Armour camp up in Dallas, and Turntine was supposed to be there but had like a shot-putting conflict. They said Turntine seemed like a lock to Texas a couple of months ago, and they've placed focus on Felix Ojo, who we've obviously talked about before, and they said that they'll probably get him, and then that means that A&M, on the other hand, has cranked up the heat on Turntine and has definitely made up a lot of ground. They said, I don't know if I'd say they lead for him, but they certainly are in the picture. He'll visit A&M June 5th, and Krempin will be in that same weekend after he visits LSU, SMU, Texas, and Michigan. So it sounds like A&M will get the last official visit for both of these guys.
From Krempin too?
Krempin and Turntine the same weekend, yeah.
Well, I kind of wonder, like, okay, so we'll talk about Turntine in a second and what that possibly means. But with Krempin to me feels like Ojo and Krempin to me were the ones that I was like, man, I think you can build a real solid class around those two, especially just with the conversation yesterday about Ojo coming out of the Under Armour camp. He's a stud, and I'm to the point where I feel like it's a toss up with him and Turntine. There are things about Turntine I can point to and say that I like better, and I'm not going to throw away the eval that I had for a year on Turntine now just because I'm just really, really coming around on Felix Ojo. I've always had Krempin at a level slightly below those guys, but a guy that was certainly – would Krempin be the best offensive lineman of the 2025 group?
Let's see. As far as grade go, he's a 5.8 4-star. He's the 160th overall.
But just as far as your eval, I mean,
I thought you were talking about from like a recruiting ranking perspective.
Comparing him to Nick Brooks, Jackson Christian, Devin Coleman, and Jordan Coleman.
I thought
certainly better than the Colemans. I think better than Jackson Christian. I guess the thing would be Nick Brooks. You just wonder about Nick Brooks now that we're hearing the stuff that he's looking good behind the scenes. Probably going to be the second team left tackle, but behind.
But we're talking as a prospect. I think as a prospect prior to Brooks being on campus, I would take Krempin head up.
It's fair to I think it's fair to say, man.
Yeah, that's
Because
right.
it's fair to say because we haven't seen all of these guys are still kind of sight unseen to us. So we don't, but there's no, there isn't any recency bias built into that at all. Like we are truly comparing apples to apples. And I think if you were to tell me, do you want Brooks or do you want Krempin? Just look at these two players. I would say, man, give me that Krempin.
But you get a lot of projection in that Brooks thing too, just with his size. And I think when you look at Kyle Flood and what he can do with these guys, like as far as pure talent and ability, like today, right? And a year ago with Brooks, like today, a year ago, I think you take Krempin head up. But as far as like projecting 3 years down the road, I think I'd probably lean Brooks for that.
Yeah. I'm so curious to see how much he weighs. People are saying he's giant. That's kind of one of the other things too, man. I just put up the column on Orange Bloods where I projected the spring depth chart on defense. I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit because there's some interesting things and some other things that I'm going to have in the war room in regard to that. But one guy today was just like, man, like it's like they've gotten big.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are big. I'm like, well, what do you mean big? It's like they lost. He was talking about the defensive line, but talking about a whole lot of them. But I was like, what do you mean big? I mean, he's like. You just notice that there's been a size increase from last season to this season, and it's kind of weird to hear whenever you consider that Alfred on the defensive line, like Alfred Collins is no longer there. Sadir Mitchell, who wasn't not a factor, but he was certainly a monster of a human being, no longer there. And there's just like, dude, like January, Shaw, Brevard, Hero, Sharma, all these guys they're Myron Charles. Like these are big guys. And then all along the offensive line, of course, you can't be getting bigger whenever you lose, Cam Williams. But, Cam Williams, by the time that he was at the end of his time at Texas, was down to what we heard at the Senior Bowl. He showed up for his combine workouts at 313.
Yeah.
Something like that. So by the time he left Texas, he wasn't quite as big as he'd been before. Goosby's a little bit smaller than Banks, I guess, but NATO is going to be bigger than Hayden Connor, right?
Is Goosby really smaller than Banks though? Like he might be a couple pounds lighter, but
yeah, I mean, you forget, man. Goosby was up to 310, 315. So it's not like he's I wouldn't want to walk, dude. I wouldn't want to.
It's just a 6'7".
See that dude in a dark alley, dude. I've been like, you get up close to that guy, man. I saw him out just one night. I was talking to him, just like looking down at his shoes. I'm like, God, what size shoes are those? Like the hands and the feet are just monstrous on him. But I find it interesting to say these guys have gotten, that the team is getting bigger. But when we turn our attention just kind of back to Turntine and Krempin, do you think Texas A&M, for one, what are they selling these? So it was Cantwell so they don't have him anymore? Is that what you were saying?
Well, they never had him. I mean, he was never committed there.
Oh, okay. I thought he was like I thought everybody at least thought he was going to end up at Texas A&M.
I don't know about that, but I think he put his top 6 out a couple weeks ago, and I think he came down to 3. Gosh, was that today or was it yesterday that he went down to 3? I swear he dropped it down to 3. It was Oregon, Ohio State, Georgia, Miami, Michigan, Missouri. That's his top 6. Georgia, Miami, Michigan, Missouri, Ohio State, Oregon. And before that, in his top 10, it was A&M was inside of his top 10. And they thought that they had, I mean, you go on that board, it's not a great board, but you go over on that board and it's like a lot of like they thought Cantwell or Inacho was a sure thing in their streets.
So Jose Rodriguez in the chat says Turntine isn't as big of a human as Flood normally. He's big. We're acting like he's a pipsqueak. The guy's not small.
Yeah.
Hopefully Ojo's the top tackle. Look, man, Ojo is, like I said, I'm coming more and more around on Ojo. And I used to, whenever I first heard it on Ojo that Rivals had ranked him, moved him ahead of Turntine, I thought it was cockamamie and bad. Now I know what they're seeing, obviously. But he says, hopefully Ojo's the top tackle they take and they consider Turntine a guard. And my question is like, okay, well, you like to consider him a guard and Flood does. Does John Turntine consider himself a guard? Does he in college? Because here's the thing about the evaluation game and how the evaluation streets work and stuff like that. Like for Cody and I's job, right? Whenever we see a guy who played tackle in college, who we think's going to have to move into guard at the NFL level, that guy brings he brings more inherent value as a prospect than a guy that played guard the whole time. He just does, because we've seen it. Cody, I can't even count the number of times that we've seen it with guys. Whenever the offensive line on their NFL team gets a little bit raggedy through the course of the season, they're like, we got to bump him out to tackle for one or two games. He played it in college, all the rest, and also knowing that he played tackle in college, knowing that he got the evaluation reps, the isolated reps, one-on-one versus the best pass rushers. His feet are better. His balance is going to be better. That he's not just a guy that can win in a phone booth, right? And so, like, there's more skill in playing offensive tackle than playing interior offensive line. It's just the way it goes. It's not to belittle those guys, but that's why they get paid less. That's why they're not drafted as early. That's why they aren't as highly rated as prospects, right? Tackle is a little bit of a different animal from what you need to bring physically as far as your attributes. And so for Turntine, if he's going to, I just think that there's a difference between somebody saying, look, you're going to play tackle in college, probably in the pros, there might be, do they even talk to them like that? Do they even say eventually you probably have to move to guard in the pros? Do they talk about that as early as the recruitment process? I don't even know if they really do.
I don't think so. I mean, here's the thing. Like there's a chat. There's a chat from where did it go here? My thing went backwards here. There's a chat from Jake Miranda. He says, Banks isn't a huge tackle. That point seems mute. Well, Banks coming in was 6'5", 321, listed on Rivals. On the Texas website, all 3 years, he's been 6'4", 320, 6'4", 324, 6'4", 320. Like, that's not a massive tackle. And then you look at Turntine's measurables right now. On Rivals, he's listed at 6'4", 317.
He's not 6'4", I don't think.
And I don't think he's 317 either. And you look on 247, he's listed at 6'3.5", 275. So there's a big discrepancy there between the two.
He's not 275.
In weight, what do you mean? What do you think he weighs?
John Turntine?
Yeah.
300 pounds.
I mean, he was just doing his dad posted him lifting the other day, and I don't know. If he's competing in high school powerlifting right now, I don't think he's 315 pounds. I think you might be lucky if he's 300.
What does that mean as somebody that as a nationally ranked powerlifter?
Well, there's a 308 weight class, and then there's a 275 weight class. And just looking at the video, I'm trying to find it right now. I can't find it. I don't know. His dad posts quite a bit, but he doesn't. I mean, you can look at the pictures of him. He doesn't look like, unless he carries the weight ridiculously well, and he's 310 pounds. Like, I don't know if he's that dense.
Well, but the 310 pounds, but how do the weight class? I don't know how
weight classes work. 275 and 308.
So between 275 and 308, anybody can do it?
Yeah. So you either have to weigh less than 275, or you have to be less than 308, or you're a super heavy and you're just north of 308. He's definitely not that.
So the guys who weigh like 277 get totally swindled?
Yes. And so that was like me for a lot of years. I was in the 264-pound class, and I would weigh like 245. But I didn't care. I still did good. It just I wasn't filled out.
But okay. But what was the minimum threshold for that class?
231.
So you're somewhere near the middle, but not,
It's the biggest discrepancy in the sport, though. It's the 231 to 264. It's a 33-pound gap that you have to fill.
That's pretty tough. Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, like, you were definitely bottom third.
Yeah.
as far as all that is
But
concerned.
when you go watch him and like you look at like his powerlifting totals and stuff, it's like I think he's a well built kid. He's a strong kid, but I'm not sure given his numbers. I'm sure I can probably find actually what he weighed at that event.
I just wonder,
John
God,
Turntine here. Oh, Nikes. Last 2 weeks ago, John Turntine competed in powerlifting, 268 pounds.
oh, you serious?
What I tell you?
Whoa, Turntine small. He's
268.
small. I mean, what do we? Did you need a? So he was trying to get down under 275 for that weight class.
Yeah, his weight class. Yep,
And
275.
so it. Oh, let me just say this. All right. So take
Crap, man, that shocked me.
someone like me, like
So,
my size.
1 year ago, here before you get through this, 1 year ago, February 10th, he did a meet. He was 311.
Whoa. So he lost.
He's down
fluctu-
43 pounds in a year.
He's got a 40-pound sort of fluctuation here. How does that?
Or he just lost that weight.
Are we sure it's the same person? You're reading this as the same guy.
Alex, it's North Crowley Invitational. It's his page
On your power lifter little pages.
open powerlifting. It's open. It's the main source of everything. Yeah,
Can you look yourself up on there?
of course.
What does it say about you? What about your last meet?
My last meet was November 21st, 2020. I weighed 260.
Okay. So you just snuck in to that one.
I deadlifted 688, benched 468. Or no, sorry, squatted 688, benched 468, and deadlifted 750.
You benched 468?
Yeah, that's my all-time best in bench.
Oh my gosh, dude. So that is 445s, a 25, and a 2.5 or something on each side.
Yeah, no,
Or no, a 5 and a 2.5.
Yeah, yep, there you go.
Oh, gosh. You're a 5 and a 1. Is there a 1.5? So it would be a 5 and a 1.5.
It's a chip, yeah. In the powerlifting meet, it's a chip. So they can have like half pound, 1 pound, 1.5, etc. But it doesn't matter. Point is here, Turntine listed 6'4", 247 has him at 6'3.5". A year ago, he was 311 pounds. He's now 268 as of 2 weeks ago.
But okay, so how much weight can you? So you guys know how to cut weight, right? So or add weight. I know.
Listen, Alex, he didn't cut 40 pounds to power lift. He's not an elite power lifter. He's a good power lifter. He's not an elite power lifter where he would cut this weight and miraculously get stronger. I think it's just him going through ebbs and flows. And again, I don't want to bury this kid at all. I love Turntine, the prospect. What I'm saying, this is what it is. He's down weight. I think it's probably just his body transforming, it's not a bad thing.
Rex St. Charles says you go from benching 468, now you co-host this cockamamie show. Oh, dude. Oh, gosh. Yeah, but dude, I think the most important thing for Cody as far as co-hosting this cockamamie show is something that he picked up during his time weightlifting is of course that he gets all the Texas beef traders that he wants, and when you get all the Texas beef traders that you want, it makes a big change in your life, dude. Clean protein, no vaccines, no antibiotics, no steroids, no weird shots, all non-GMO feed at all these different ranches. I love the MTX beef right there. Like you see the big tomahawk steaks of. That's from Mason, Texas. Up there, they have a new board, Cody, that shows the distance to each location just there from the shop. And it's like 92 miles, 71 miles, and 94 miles or something like that. All the meat comes locally. So you're supporting local farmers when you go to Texas Beef Traders right there in Lakeway. And you're supporting a great company, one that supports us, one that's been with us virtually since the beginning, a company that I wanted to work with just because I knew the quality of the products, I knew the quality of the people, and I knew that we could help them to grow and expand, and they are rapidly. I can't believe that you can still call up Darren and get 10% off of the already already great prices that they have there. They have the best ground beef that you've ever had for $5 a pound. You get it for $4.50 a pound whenever you tell them that you heard about them on Football with Friends. And it's like it's like going. It's you make a burger out of that stuff. It's like you're at the steakhouse. It's like you're at Ruth Chris Steakhouse and you get a burger for $38. Like that's what it tastes like. It's that good. What I can't also believe is that you can still call up there, talk to Darren, get your 10% off, and just ask him to bring it to your house, and he'll just bring it to you. It's like who else does that? Where can you get that done? Well, it's at Texas Beef Traders, and of course, you can get our beef jerky. 4 delicious flavors, all cut from the sirloin part of the. We told them how we wanted this done. We want big, thick cuts of meat. We want it packed up hard, but we want it whenever you open them. It's soft, it's juicy, it's a little bit oily. It's just you can tell that it's deliciously cut and smoked right there at the processor. They get this stuff in every Wednesday. So when you go in there and you buy your meat, it was meat that was just processed and packed and just shipped on Wednesday. Texas Beef Traders, TexasBeefTraders.com. Go and see them. Make sure and let them know that we sent you. And I'll go ahead and put up the beef jerky link right now. It should also be down below. If you want to order beef jerky, that doesn't have to be local. That you can do that anywhere in the lower 48. Don't think we could do it to Hawaii and Alaska yet.
Why not? You can't even do. I mean, why not? Why not?
I don't think you can. I'm not sure. It's something with the shipping system. Which as we're finding, shipping meat is not the shipping frozen meat is not the easiest.
Alex, for me to rent a car and drive to you and back.
Yeah. I don't know. We're going to have to figure it out because I want Texas Beef Traders to start shipping nationally, but it's going to take finding a shipping partner like one of these big box places have. And it's just like, it's a small shop, man, but we're going to grow it. And thanks to everybody for always supporting our great sponsors here. One of which, of course, let's just get to now as long as we're talking about sponsors, but we have to talk about these guys. They're having a big wine sale right now. Of course, it's Specs.
With hundreds of wines on sale, Specs is turning these aisles into the ultimate love story.
Uncork something special during Specs' huge wine sale, going on now. Specs, the fun starts.
Cody, Felix Ojo, or 268-pound John Turntine? You got to choose one or the other. You have to choose right now. After all this talk of Turntine in 2026, you got to get him. No Fasucci in 2025. It's Turntine this, Turntine that. Donald Hawkins comes on the show. He talks to us about how you got to get Turntine. He's the best I've seen, all the rest of this stuff.
All due respect, D-Hawk, I don't think he had seen Felix Ojo yet.
I'd be interested to know if we got to get Hawkins back on the show. He's a great
Been a long time.
Yep. All right. Let's see here. We have anything else on Turntine and the Aggie? Anything else on the Aggies, Sooners? Anything from behind enemy lines?
I'll just say this: that Oklahoma site is pretty painful to go over to. I mean, they got this kid in. He's like the 47th ranked tackle in the country, and they're like 3 official visits set for a blue chip offensive lineman. And like the responses to the I got to get to the moderators. The moderators, like they do their best to like keep that glass half full at most times. And it's just like, they can't catch a break. It's like, well, Tennessee or Nebraska is going to pay more. We're going to miss out. Or they're like, is anybody it's like they're talking about like the list.
How did they beat Texas for Mike Fasucci?
The list of visitors, and they're like, are we in on anybody in the top 150? That's like a question. And then the saddest comment I saw on OU Insider was, in quotes, "One day I just want to open up one of these threads to see 5 stars." It's just like, I mean, there's stuff over there. I mean, they're talking about like a couple of guys, and Mark Henry's son, Jacob Henry, is a walk-on to their roster and stuff. But I think overall, I mean, the Oklahoma side was just kind of a zero. But A&M, you guys can go over to orangebloods.com and you can get the update. There's a little update about Boobie Feaster. A&M thinks that they got this Brandon Arrington from Mount Miguel in California. They think they got him locked up. He's one of the top receivers. They pretty much think that they're in on everybody. A&M does. So a lot of arrogance over there. And then there's a ton of notes from Sam Spiegelman on the Rivals side. I put a couple of those in there as well.
Anything from Spiegelman that really stood out to you?
Yeah, he had a note on Tyler Atkinson, the linebacker from Grayson, who's the top linebacker in the country, and he kind of said that like
Grayson, Georgia.
Yeah, Grayson, Georgia.
Okay.
He had a note in there because he was actually down in New Orleans. What would that have been? It would have been last week for the Super Bowl with like Ant Hill and stuff. And he said that he like was talking to them and they kind of talked about him playing in that role and they've done well and stuff. But it seems like the energy is much more in on his teammate Anthony Davis, who's trimmed down his list of contenders down to Auburn, Ole Miss, and Texas. And he's a good linebacker. He's the 14th ranked linebacker in the country. He's smaller. He's 6'1", 197 than Atkinson, but he's a top 150 kid. And the energy just seems like it's going to be more successful in the Davis camp rather than the Atkinson camp. And Atkinson is, like I said, the number one kid in the country and this kid's teammate. So this kid's a little bit overshadowed from that perspective, but he's still a 5.9 high 4-star. Atkinson 6'2", 210, and he's a heavy Georgia kind of lean, and Ohio State's in there as well.
You wonder why Texas is bringing in all these coaches and new sort of personnel directors and stuff like that with all these Georgia ties, man. Sark's trying to throw down in Georgia, man. You can't, it's gonna be fun to watch and see how this whole thing plays out.
I sort of think David Keith Williams might be John Turntine Sr.
Yeah. DK Dubs.
We love you, David Keith Williams. We appreciate you. No, we're not trying to say anything negative towards Turntine. We're just saying, as far as the projection goes, it's a lot easier with his size to project it to guard, especially with the hypothetical of getting a Ojo, Turntine, and a Krempin. You want all these guys. Somebody's got to play guard, and his body right now is the most projected to guard.
If you recruit him as a guard, I think you're going to lose him. But Texas
you probably do.
But Texas already has Maximus Wright.
Yep.
And so they already have him, and he's a tackle.
He's a couple years.
Oh yeah, he's a couple year. You just did you just screamed you kind of did a little bobcat, like a. But he's a. You said that they said that I had one of those vocal things.
You did. You like jumped in a tub full of water during.
You got possessed for a minute.
Yeah.
If you, I just think if you recruit Turntine as a guard, it's like. But and then again, it's like Texas. If they, I think they get Krempin and they get Ojo. I'm pretty confident in Ojo, and so. What do you take 4 tackles?
No,
it wouldn't hurt to take 4 tackles considering what you'd be looking at here in the future. I don't consider Malik Agbo as somebody that's going to be around for too much longer. And then you say, all right, Brandon Baker, Andre Kojo, Trevor Gooseby, Nick Brooks. I mean, you kind of need more of those guys. Chapman doesn't. He's going to be playing guard now. Yep. Jaden Chapman. So what do you have? You have, at least with the interior guys, you have Daniel Cruz and you have like NATO and Kibble, and then the freshman coming in. We talked about, Jackson Christian. I like him better than the Coleman brothers, but Connor Stroh is still kind of developing. We didn't mention Cole Hudson or DJ Campbell because of course we're talking about 2026 and on, but feels like the need at offensive tackle is probably greater than the need at interior offensive line, even despite the fact you only have to play 2 of those dudes as opposed to 3. I still don't think you get 4 in this class. If you were to get if you were to just get the nuts and get a 6-man offensive line class where you could compare it a little bit to the 2022 class, even in that case, I don't think you could have it be 4 tackles and 2 interior offensive linemen. I think that would have to be a 3 tackle, 3 interior offensive linemen kind of thing. And I just don't think pitching Turntine on being a guard is something that's going to. Other schools are going to say, "What? Do they not believe in you?"
Why did you put him on a scale and you look at how tall he is? I don't imagine. Again, I don't want to hammer the kid, but I don't imagine if you're 6'3", 268, that your arms are all of a sudden 35 inches. I don't think that math equates.
And powerlifters don't generally have long arms, right?
Well, they can, but it's. I mean, he's tall for a power lifter, 6'3".
Yeah. Oh, very interesting. I can't believe we just found out live on air that Turntine's small. Gets wild. Do you want to get to another one of these topics? Or we just, gosh,
Yeah, man.
Already off the rails here with the thumbnail.
Let's talk about Brad Spence.
Okay. So this is interesting. Okay, Tuesday topics. Is Brad Spence really about to start over Lianga Lafau? What's that mean for Lafau's future at Texas? So yes, I was doing my depth chart kind of update earlier, and I'm trying to kind of do some new stuff with it and be different than I've been in previous years with adding new things, trying to make it better. And, I know people want to hear like more inside info and stuff. So I worked real hard this week trying to call around, hear what sources have to say about this stuff. And I was doing it mainly to see if I can make my feature any better than it has been in the past. Not that the depth chart projections haven't been good, but I want to make it better. Right. And so I was just expecting to get a couple of little snippets about the things that I put together, and I usually get the depth chart I usually get it pretty much right. It's generally an easy puzzle for me. Well, dude, there's not much in this world I'm that good at, man, but I'm good at putting together depth charts, and I'm good at watching practices and stuff. But the I was kind of reading this off to somebody, I'm just kind of going, I'm like, all right, so with the I'm just like, I'm assuming that Anthill plays the same role that he did last year. And like, I'm going to have some stuff in the war room about maybe some stuff they might do a little bit differently with Anthill. And I'm like, all right, so if he's still at the one that they're calling the mic, even though it's so weird, it's like, it's not really a mic. Nansen calls that position a mic. Half the time it's just not.
They should call it the stud.
Yeah. Just call it something else. Right. It's just like, because he is a line. I mean, he is aligned at the mic sometimes. Like if the center's IDing the mic, so they can zone block by numbers or whatever. It's like half the time Anthill is, but half the time he's not. It's just anyway. But it's the same role. And I go, all right. So him next to Lafau, all this stuff. And I heard from somebody who would know. And let me just see what I wrote, because I don't want to misquote it, because it wasn't definitive, right? It was just like I was told on one person today that he's not so sure that was right, and if he had to guess, it would be Brad Spence as the starter.
Interesting.
He just said Brad Spence doesn't transfer from Arkansas if he doesn't think he's going to start. And he just said there was some stuff down the stretch with Lafau last year. Lafau, I didn't write this up. Maybe I'll hold that for the war room. But there was some stuff with Lafau down the stretch, some little bit banged up stuff. He's still kind of a little bit banged up. Him and Anthill both came out of the season with some kind of lingering, not injuries, but just sort of, really, really banged up dudes. But I think that anybody who watched through the season with Lianga Lafau saw that when he came in and he was just like really starting to take over for David Benda after the first bye week, that the defense got a shot in the arm. He was playing really well. He was fitting up gaps really well. Then there started to be little cracks in the armor throughout the season with Lafau. Some more missed tackles, a couple, maybe one or two bad run reads per game, not fitting up the gaps quite as well, not keeping the same kind of gap integrity. And it wasn't like he was bad, but there were some things where it wasn't, they were hoping they had their two in Lafau and Anthill. I don't think that some people within the staff think that that's just a lock that Lianga Lafau is going to be the starter. Now, I do think that probably if we go to that first spring practice, It's going to be 0 and 18 is LaFau. It'll be 0 and 18 out there at the first practice, I would guess. But from what I'm hearing, Brad Spence is going to have every chance to win that job. And when you look at it, that honestly becomes the most important defensive spring position battle that we have. Because whenever I look at the depth chart as I've assembled it now, that's the only one where it truly feels like somebody that I have listed as the starter. I feel like it's a 50-50. Whereas some of the other ones where I look at, say, Cole Brevard and Alex January, I think that Alex January will probably back up Cole Brevard to start at nose. But I see that as like a 65-35 type of thing. I think there's like a 35% chance that it could be January. Now, if he plays like Alex January circa 2024, I think Brevard will, wipe the floor with him, right? Like you got to play better than that. And he didn't have much volume last year. What have we 80 snaps? But he's got to be better than 2024. And then I look at Travis Shaw. I think he'll start at the defensive tackle. I think that's like a 75-25 with Hero Canoe. I really think Shaw's got some pop, and I think that guy's ready to become Travis Shaw. And we'll see. He's got a little bit of an on-off switch. Plays with high pads at sometimes, but he's got a whole lot of natural sizzle to his game. He's got the attributes where you can see this is a 5-star, X5-star prospect, right? Colin Simmons and Trey Moore is a whole discussion too. But I think as far as if we're talking about a starting, I mean, what other starter is truly looking to get pushed here and maybe has people on that staff or close to that staff saying, "No, man, Alex, I think that this other guy's going to start over him." Is there one on defense?
What about like Trey Moore?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good conversation to have. What about Trey Moore? The way I did it, the way I did it with him is so with Trey Moore here, I just put let's see, can I make it bigger? Yeah. So with Trey Moore here, what I did is I just put Colin Simmons as the starter at the edge or the buck, right? Then I put Trey Moore underneath him, but right here I put these three dots, right? Which is just starter in certain packages. And I sort of think that that's going to be the deal with him because I started thinking to myself, Cody, the Colin Simmons is one of the most sought after, ballyhooed, celebrated, one of the most anticipated returning sophomores in the whole sport, right? Are we agreed on that? I mean, am I living in the Texas
100%.
bubble or is that the national? So
100%. Yeah.
How can I not say he's the starter?
That wasn't about Colin Simmons, though. It's more about like, can you consider Trey Moore the starter in context of saying that Burke isn't the starter and not saying that that's just going to be his position, but that we're going to see more on both sides of the football. We're going to see Simmons on both sides of the football. You're going to see Burke all over the defensive line. Like, why can't you just consider, you know what I'm saying? Like, by definition, like on offense, you're like, well, you got to have your X, your Y, your Z. You got to have a tight end. You got to have a running back in your starting lineup. But like, what if I don't want to consider the third receiver a starter? What if I want to consider both my running backs starters? Even though
I get it, but you have to make a chart.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, for conversation's sake.
Yeah, I mean, dude, look, whenever they play in a dime package, they play in the dollar package, And the only difference in that is the number of linebackers that are on the field, right? And then they play in the NASCAR package, which we've been over it a million times. These are 3 packages that are, third down, passing down, last 4-minute defense whenever the opposing team is in a throwing script, right? These are your pass rush sort of speed downs with extra help with the secondary is a very simple way to say it, right? On those, it's going to be Colin Simmons and Trey Moore on the edges. There's no need to have a traditional strong side defensive end in those.
Mhm.
Whereas on, say, like on, you get into 2nd and 3, I think what the importance of having, like, say, Justice Terry, right? And this to some degree, Lance Jackson, having those guys somewhat as a result of Colton Vasek missing this spring period, to be able to get those guys comfortable playing at a 4 tech, playing at a 5 tech, where the strong side defensive end plays. Baron Sorrell's old job, right? Getting them playing there sort of behind Ethan Burke, which is what we've all been told is going to happen. And with Justice Terry, he's just going to have to play. So we just got to get him out there, and that's where we can play him. So we're going to play him. But it's just going to be, it'll be like last year whenever they would get into 2nd and 3 and you see Alfred Collins go out there and he would line up at the 4 tech or the 5 tech and he'd kind of be a defensive end, but it's just like getting a third interior defensive lineman out of that alignment. And I think that's be a brilliant way to make sure that you get Justice Terry playing time as his body grows into the, 300, 305, 315 pounds that you're going to want him at before you feel good by saying, all right, he's our proper starting 3 tech. So obviously it's situational and it'll change from, player to player. I'll have stuff in the war room about how some of these alignments look and how some of these linebackers look. I heard something interesting about Ty Anthony Smith and, but there, one thing we can say about the defense is it's certainly multiple, and there's lots of ways to use the guys. So I guess this is a long-winded way of me saying I understand totally what you're saying, that I could have put an or between Trey Moore and Colin Simmons. I guess I could have put Colin Simmons as I could have made a different row that said like DPR, like designated pass rusher in this package or whatever. But then you get a chart that just people can't read it. I consider Colin Simmons higher on the pecking order than Trey Moore coming into 2025.
100%. I won't argue with you. I will definitely not argue with you on that.
One other thing that I just kind of thought was, interesting here as I was going through it was, and our guy, David Keith Williams, who Cody was saying the other day, thought could possibly be AI, but I see that you did you star this or did I star this? I thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
So he says, I like Travis Shaw, and if he's good enough to start, it would be great. However, I'm not certain that Cole Brevard will not start at nose tackle. Brevard is more of a dominant nose tackle to me. Well, yeah, Brevard only played nose tackle at Purdue. He didn't play anything else. He didn't play anything else. I watched 3 games, nose, head up, one shade. That's all he did. I don't even think he was ever at a 2 tech. If you watch Travis Shaw, he plays a little bit of nose, but he's a 3 tech for North Carolina. And his first step up field, his explosive B gap penetrating ability that you see in flashes, you want him at 3 tech. You want him in the B gap. So I agree with David Keith Williams there. That's what I have on the sheet. I think that Brevard will probably start out at nose. Travis Shaw will probably start out at 3 tech. But one thing that I was kind of thinking about, Cody, is the whole thing with Hero Kanu behind him. That to me feels like one of the biggest wild cards, because if he comes in and, like, we were talking to some Ohio State people at the Senior Bowl, them saying, the light bulb just has to come on. It hadn't really come on yet. He's right on the precipice, but I don't view him as being as close to the precipice as Travis Shaw is. I think Travis Shaw is ready for the light bulb to come on. I think with Kanu, it might take another year. With that being said, They got Myron Charles coming in. Like, would it be?
Yeah, I don't think so. I'm not there.
Well, what do you think? Sharma has a better chance of playing? Because Sharma would probably have to. I think he's going to play nose, and so that would be Brevard in January to get through.
Here's next week, Alex. We get 3 Ohio State offensive linemen and 4 defensive linemen at the combine that we get to talk to. We're going to figure it out. We're going to figure out. I'm going to ask each one of these guys like 3 questions. Because I know there's not going to be a line to talk to Ty Hamilton or a line to talk to Seth McLaughlin. I'm going to stand there and I'm going to just
Old Bill Rabinowitz from the Columbus Dispatch is going to be looking at you saying, "Why does this guy keep asking everybody but here all these questions about Hero Canoe?"
The big takeaway from everyone, we're going to get done with the O-line, D-line, and they're going to go, "Who is Hero Canoe?"
Got these cockamamie Texas reporters sniffing around the new transfer that's coming in. Cody, it's getting cold outside, man. I got my well pump, I got my pool pump, I got all these. I got to put space heaters and blankets on. So we're gonna get out a little bit early tonight. Is there anything else, dude? It's getting down below. It's getting down to like 20 tonight.
What? 20?
Yeah.
I called my mom yesterday. I haven't talked to her in like a week and a half. I call her and I go, "What are you doing?" She, blah 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 blah. She goes, "It's cold here." I said, "What is it?" She goes, -8. I said, "Really?" She goes, "It feels colder than that." So I look up on my phone. This is southern Minnesota. Wind chill, -19.
Well,
how
much does land even cost? Can you buy like 300 acres for like $25,000 in that inhospitable wasteland? I mean,
you know how good you're disrespecting. You know how good a farmland is up in southern Minnesota and Iowa?
well, not
In Illinois.
not in this weather.
That is corn.
When are you going to grow?
That is corn and soybean nation right there. That belt of Illinois, Iowa, southern Minnesota, southern Wisconsin. You grow a lot of corn, a lot of soybean up there.
I mean, you look at. For me, it just feels like the land values would be so bad when it gets so cold. But then again, in Texas, it gets hellishly hot. You know what I mean? It's like, how could anybody ever pay the price per acre in the hill country when it gets up to 110 degrees and feels humid and just the worst? But
no, I just would love to take the Orange Bloods team, the whole team, just take you guys on a bus ride to Minnesota. Just take it just for a couple days, middle of winter.
no, I'm not going.
Let's go hunting. Let's go hunting up there.
I wouldn't. Do you have land to hunt on?
We got some land up there. We go turkey hunting or we can go whitetail. If you ever want to go to Minnesota, you just let me know. We'll get up there. We'll go hunt.
Okay. All right. Well, we're getting out to go to Indy next week. We're gonna have Football with Friends live there from Indianapolis. We're gonna be talking to all the players, all the prospects, all the NFL coaches, the GMs. So we'll have some other NFL scuttlebutt for you and just some general NFL draft scuttlebutt. We know that you guys will enjoy it, or we certainly hope you guys will enjoy it. Because the show, dude, it's crazy, Cody. It's the off season, and the show continues to grow. So we can't thank everybody enough for continuing to come and watch. We can't thank our sponsors enough: Texas Beef Traders, Poncho Outdoors, MyPerfectFranchise.net, Specs. But most importantly, just you guys for coming and hanging out with us. As always, we don't bug you with asking you to like the show and subscribe to the channel, but this is the time where we ask for it. Please like the show. Please subscribe to the channel. Most importantly, just keep coming back, man. We love having you guys. We can't thank you enough for continuing to watch. We're here every night, 6 to 7 p.m. If you could tell a friend, that would be awesome. That, hey, dude, there's these guys that they don't waste a bunch of my time. They're very respectful of my time. They get in and talk football, and then they get out of there. There's a lot of Longhorns, a lot of SEC, a lot of NFL, a lot of NFL draft, and a lot of snooping on weightlifting sites to find out John Turntine weight. My gosh, 268. All right. Love you guys, man. We'll see you tomorrow. We might not have the show on Thursday. We're still trying to get it all figured out. But other than that, pretty much a reasonable schedule this week. And then next week, we will let you know what is the deal in Indy. But I think we're going to be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So it's going to be awesome, man. Love you guys. God bless you. All right. We'll see you tomorrow. For Cody, I'm Alex. We're done.
Dude,